This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia. Listen to my radio show, A Tip from Gilbert. Talk, inspiration, and prayer every Monday from 11 a.m. till noon on Houston's gospel leader, KWWJ, 1360 AM, and streaming live on kwwj.org. Listen on the legendary KYOK 1140 AM and streaming live on kyokradio.org. KCOH 1380 AM on Same Geek Radio 95.1 FM 1460 AM and Aliento Radio 101.7 FM and 1540 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then. All right, Houston, this is Gilbert Garcia with another tip from me. Talk, inspiration, and prayer. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you for listening. Of course, we're on all our stations. You can hear us all over Houston, all over Harris County. And here we are. We have a guest who I'll be introducing momentarily because we're going to talk a little bit about the city workers. And so you'll hear from him in just one moment. But before we do that, I just want to give a small Easter prayer because, of course, we had our Easter, and at the Garcia household, that means my daughter. That means, my sister and her kids. And it used to mean, when it was years ago with all my kids, and they're now one's in Baton Rouge and one's in New York, lots of Easter eggs. Well, unfortunately, I've kind of outgrown that, but, I really never do outgrow it, but they did. But I miss those days dearly. But we are all together, and I just want to do this quick prayer. So this says, it's called an Easter renewal. Lord, we ask for your grace to renew our minds and hearts this Easter. Help us to leave behind the things that weigh us down and to embrace the new life that you offer us. May we be filled with hope and joy, knowing you have a plan and purpose for our lives. Strengthen us to face the challenges and trust in your unfailing love. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And of course, my family and I, my daughter went to the signs of the cross at our church, which is going through all the different signs of the cross and what it means and everything behind it. And it's a glorious thing. It takes about 3 hours. She had a great time with some of her friends. And of course, my wife and I were guests at Lakewood Church. And I tell you what, I love my church, the Catholic Church, Corpus Christi, but I mean, it's not pow. And I will tell you, Lakewood gives you this feeling of it's just pow. And we were there of guests of Joel and Victoria Osteen, the pastors, and others. And I just want to say how grateful we are to them. Miss Jacqueline Iloff, her husband, Don, and all the family. They let us really be with the family. And it was special because we got to meet the whole family and be with them. And it's amazing to see that church because it really is a family affair. If there's such a thing as the family pulling together and really talking about Christ, that's it. And I thought it was beautiful. And I also just want to say that, we lost our Pope this weekend. And boy, what an amazing Pope he is.
Yes.
And he'll always be. And I understand that they're looking at, that you never know, but 2 or 3 people, one of them from Africa, I understand, one again from Rome. These are what is quote unquote the lead candidates. And it's a beautiful thing to start spreading out to some of these newer players and some of these newer areas that are some of the fastest growing in the Catholic Church. So I want to go ahead and just say and welcome my guest, Mr. Maurice Broussard. Mr. Broussard, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Gilbert. I wanted to start off. Good morning, Houston.
Woo!
Good morning,
Houston.
Houston.
Morning, Houston.
Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Gilbert.
Thank you.
And America.
Amen.
It
Amen.
is definitely Morris. More with Morris.
More with Morris. You know what? I like that. That needs to be, that's your podcast.
Yeah.
He has a podcast. And let me tell you why I brought him. I forgot who gave me the link. Someone sent me the link of your podcast.
Yes.
And first of all, I really enjoyed the passion.
Yes.
Whether people agree with you or not.
That's right.
The concept of you being passionate about your positions,
Yes.
the concept of you being well knowledgeable about your positions.
I definitely try.
Yeah, you're not just talking smack.
Right.
I thought that was amazing.
Yes.
And of course, we'll talk more about you in a second because we have a caller already.
Okay.
But you worked for the city for how many years?
13 years.
So we're going to talk about the city. I want to talk about your area that you worked in, which was 911.
That is correct.
Because I don't think enough people understand exactly what that means and how does it work and how does it filter through.
Yes.
I want to educate our listeners. And then let's go into your experience. I want to go back to, when there was a young Morris.
Yes.
What was he like and what got him to be such an activist? And then I want to talk a little bit about the city union.
Yes.
The city workers called Hope.
Yes.
Sort of its origin, how it came about. And then let's just talk about the state of affairs for the city itself, because you have some very strong views.
I do.
I share some of those. And before we jump into all of that,
yes,
we got a caller. So it's Dominic. Dominic, are you there? Dominic. Can you hear me, Dominic? Dominic, can you hear me? There was an old song from The Who during Tommy, can you see me? Can you hear me? And then there was, of course, the chorus, see me, feel me, hear me, touch me. Are you there, Dominic? Okay, we're going to move on for Dominic. I am going to mention that on your, and I don't know where this is, it's your LinkedIn.
Yes.
You have a quote from Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
And most people don't realize what a spiritual man he was.
Yes, definitely.
When they think about he became a Muslim, that somehow he was trying to dodge the war.
Right.
And whether that is true or not, the most important thing people should know is he was a very spiritual man.
Yes.
And it was a very peaceful man.
Yes.
And he cared about his fellow human beings. And I think that was really his way to protest that. Why should he go across the country to go kill people he doesn't even know?
When we have enemies right
When we have enemies right here, especially in those times.
That's correct.
In the 60s and early 70s.
Yes.
So his quote is, it says here, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth.
That's right.
What does that mean to you?
So I take it as we are, as humans, we should give service to other humans when we have that ability, right? So when it comes to helping, when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to hunger, we should be solving those problems here on earth. That's what we should be contributing to this earth. So it's I think it gives you the strength to continue to fight to solve these kind of issues that we still have here.
And somehow we're getting more issues.
Yes.
I mean, doesn't it feel like it? I don't know. Maybe everybody in life, especially when you get to be my age, I'm 61 now. I'm 61 years young. Houston.
That's right. That's right.
But, maybe every time you get to be a certain age, you start reflecting back, because I guess as you get closer to your maker, or maybe it's because you're mature, or maybe you're wiser, but you start thinking about things like, leaving the world a better place
than when we found it.
Yeah, for people around us. And when you look around the world today, I don't know if everybody, did they say this in the 60s? Did they say it in the 70s? Did they say in the 80s that, oh my God, things are getting, so much, all these other issues.
They definitely say that.
I mean, I think they do. So maybe I'm in that place, because at the end of the day, I look around and I see all this hatefulness, and I see this rewriting of history.
Yes.
And when I hear people talk about, critical race theory and all, I'm like, wait a minute, critical race theory, why don't you call it what it really is? It's the history that's not being told in our schools.
That's correct.
But it's history, and it's real, and it happened. And you may not be proud of it, but the
definitely
point,
have to embrace it.
You got to embrace it, because it is who we are as a nation. And as a people.
That's what formed us, right?
Yep.
That's what laid the foundation.
There you go.
And when we're not laying the foundation properly, what happens to the house? Yeah. The house starts either collapsing, crumbling,
cracks.
Yeah. In my field, as it is right now, you wouldn't be able to get an appraisal if your foundation start cracking, right? Yeah. Because we can't lend on anything that it is structurally unsound. And that's basically what we're doing, especially in Houston here today. We're creating a foundation that's definitely cracking, definitely crumbling, definitely we wouldn't be able to lend on it. And we're probably going to see that in the next couple of months when we're getting handed out those grades.
I want you to come back to that in one moment. We're going to talk a lot about it. And by the way, Houston, you call in anytime at 832-570-8075. Of course, we all know we're on 5 stations, Aliento Radio, of course, Sangeek, KYOK, KWWJ, KCOH, and we're going to be getting a new station very, very soon. So I'll leave that as a little teaser there. But we have a caller. Dominic, is that you? Dominic, I think producer, I think I can hear him faintly, which means he's not on my headpiece. Dominic, I'm going to let y'all figure that out, Mr. Producer, but we're not hearing him, okay? Okay, sorry about that, Dominic. Stay on. We're trying to put you through.
Yes, we want those questions.
We want those questions, and we know we're going to have more. So let's get that going right away there, producer. So coming back here, let me just ask you, you worked, well, first of all, are you a Houstonian?
I definitely am.
Okay, where'd you go to high school?
So I went to high school for law enforcement and criminal justice.
No
They
kidding.
just renamed it. It's like law and justice.
Yeah?
Yes.
And
But I used to be in the Heights on Shepherd.
Okay,
Durham.
yeah, I know that that school because I know people who've gone there.
Yep.
It's right near St. Thomas High School.
Used to be, yes.
Yeah, I know
Now we're
exactly
in
where it
Third
is.
Ward now.
Okay, I know exactly of it. So let me ask you this. Did you think about going in law enforcement?
I actually,
Did you?
in my youth, I thought I was going to be an attorney.
Yep.
And I knew that in middle school. I knew I wanted to be an attorney. I knew I wanted to help people. I just didn't know how I wanted to do it. And I thought the legal system would have been a better place for me to fit in, right? Helping people has always been a passion of mine. That's always been a goal of mine. Everything I've always done has always been to help people. And now, of course, everybody always says, you either right or you on the wrong of that side of it, but it's always trying to help somebody. That's what I always try to do.
Well, your podcasts are very strong. And so in many ways you are helping.
Yes.
Because you're putting a lot of issues out there that most people are afraid to talk about.
That part's true.
And why do you think that is? Why do people not want to really, feel free to speak freely?
I think they just don't know. I think people are afraid to say the things out loud, right? I still say those things, and you've heard me say those things.
Yes, I have.
And but you can't be scared to do it, because what I'm trying to do is not a negative thing. I'm trying to either put it on your mind, trying to have you think about it, and come up with a solution for it.
Well,
that's what we're all about.
Yeah,
right?
There's no doubt that you're trying to be thought-provoking on purpose, by design.
Yes.
Because you want to get people thinking about these issues.
That's correct.
One way or the other, whether they're for it or against it.
That's right.
But at least know some of the facts and draw your own conclusion.
That's right. That's right. I don't want you to lean one way or the other way. I don't want you to be for me. I don't want you to be against me. But I want you to think about these issues, and let's come to the table like we are right now.
Yeah.
Come to the table with a solution, and let's strategize and let's execute.
So we're going to go into that. Now let's try you again. They say the third time is the charm.
That's right.
So Dominic, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
There you go. Yes. We can hear you, Dominic. You have me and, of course, Mr. Morris Broussard, the third, of course. Speak to us. What do you got there, Dominic?
Okay, I got 2 comments. And one of them is, I'm going to put Metro into this, but
Do it.
I think it's appropriate for this. On my street, across the street from me and next door to me, are 2 middle-class Hispanic families. They are not renting. They have bought their homes. And the one reason why they were able to buy their homes is that they used Metro, Lyft, Uber. So they took that money that would have gone into a depreciable car, and then they made house payments with that. So I think that's just something that we need to talk about, is the cost of a car and what would happen if you did not have that car and used public transportation and Uber, Lyft, and so on. Second of all, I was in San Antonio the first day of Megabus, and the bus stopped and just at that time 4 blocks from the Alamo. So I went to the Alamo, and there was this Hispanic gentleman he's had a hunch I knew about history, so he kind of pulled me up the side. He was telling me things about the Texas Revolution I even never heard of. Like, for instance, during Santa Anna's invasion of Texas, there was actually a civil war going on within Mexico itself. At the time, Texas was part of Mexico. And second of all, the troops under Travis at Alamo was under a different operational strategy than the troops under Sam Houston. And my thing, this completely blew my mind. So I think this thing about opening this up and having the Alamo back within the state park system is a very good thing. With that, I have no other comments. I'm sending it back to you, Gil.
Thank you. Well, a couple of things. First, if I'm not mistaken, and of course, I had one of the real, scholars on my show, Mr. Chris Tomlinson, who's written about the Alamo extensively. First of all, you have to remember, one of the main reasons for Texas separating from Mexico was that Mexico was a free country.
That is correct.
They did not allow slavery.
That's correct.
And of course, in Texas, slavery was legal. And so that was part of it.
Yep.
And, when you think about it, you don't realize it, but slavery was really one of the main things that triggered so many decisions back in our history.
That's true.
And then the other thing I think is important is these Alamo was strategic to hold up the troops, Santa Anna, as long as possible.
Yeah.
So Sam Houston could build up his troops. And that was really a strategic move to delay them so they could be prepared for the big battle.
That's true.
And so they really sacrificed their lives there, Dominic.
Yes.
But Dominic, go ahead. What'd you say?
And my thing is too about that Battle of Alamo, that they delayed this de facto European style professional army as long as they did at the Alamo. I brought up the question: was there U.S. advisors, like in Vietnam, were there people that knew how to fight a European war advising the people at the Alamo? And the guy at the Alamo said it's a very real possibility. The United States is very interested in what's going on in Texas. So, the straight across the board thing about the Alamo is, we don't know the whole story yet.
Well, I think one thing is we learned from the American Revolution, because we could never compete with the Redcoats and the British Empire. And so that is why the farmers, the militia, they would be in the woods, they would attack and go back in the woods.
That's right.
And that was guerrilla the style. Mm-hmm. It was more of a guerrilla warfare. That's and right. It worked. But Dominic, thank you for calling in.
No, one other thing. And Sam Houston was trained by the Cherokee.
Ah, there you go. Well, we thank you for that, Dominic, and thank you for calling in. I want to go into one thing, only because he brought up Metro, and of course, I used to be chairman of Metro, and it's so discouraging that, first of all, I wrote an op-ed, of course, about some of the things, and I was critical of the mayor's administration and especially Metro now. Yes. And of course, the Chronicle wouldn't print it, but it's very frustrating because I wrote it like 5 times for them. And if you're out there listening, I don't know why y'all won't print my letter, but at the end of the day, it was all about the people of Houston voted twice in 2 referendums to get more money to Metro to do transit, not to fix streets, not to pave the streets that are really the city's responsibility, right. But to connect the uptown with the rail system here that we have, and to do all kinds of broadening transit. And of course, those smartest guys in the rooms when they talk about, we should just balance the budget by taking Metro's money. Well, you know what? Already, I don't know how many people in Houston you drive on 610 by the Galleria, or you try to go to the rodeo. You can't go. Yeah. It is packed. It's packed. And I mean, the freeways, if you didn't have that rail system, it couldn't function, the rodeo. You couldn't do these events. And, if you just say, well, why don't we just take the money from Metro? That's got to be one of the most silliest ideas I've ever heard. Because you know what? If you did that, there's already no room for any more cars.
That's right.
So what are you going to do with all those people? I forgot what the ridership is now, but when I was there, it was almost 100 million boardings, and then it plummeted during COVID to about 60 or 70 million. Where are all those people? They're going to be in cars. Where are you going to put them? It makes no sense.
It's all about mismanagement.
There you go.
It's all about mismanagement. It's not about the leadership. The leadership is failing.
Yep.
That's true. And when you look at the track record, I will tell you, Gilbert, I ask you right here, what's the claim of fame to the mayor right now? What is his claim to fame?
Right now, in my view, is he's trying to put a Band-Aid everywhere he can.
That's right.
To really just make decisions in the future.
That's right.
And, you know, you can kind of do that at the beginning.
Right.
But now, guess what? All these, you know, the budget deficits and all that.
That's right.
Now he owns those issues.
So why does he keep bringing up, it was my predecessor.
Yeah.
It's always the late, great
That's right.
Sylvester Turner's
That's
fault.
right.
But you've been here, right? You've sat in the chair already.
That's right.
How many times do you get to say that it's Sylvester Turner's fault?
That's right. And you were in the legislature 50 years, and you mean to tell me you're just discovering Houston? I mean, come on. But hold that thought. You know why? We got another caller already.
That's right.
Jeremy, are you there, Jeremy? Boy,
yes, sir.
Go. What do you got for us, Jeremy?
Hey, I got two-part questions.
Go ahead.
One is basic and one is personal to me because I get asked that a lot. But number one, we put the stuff in the recycle bins. Does it really get recycled? That's the first question.
Well,
you know that's a great question.
I got an expert here.
That's a great question.
That's the first question.
All I know is when Tony Busby, who's a good dear friend of mine, ran for mayor, I was told, and of course it was in the media for a while, that some people followed some of these waste pickups that were doing the recycle.
Yes.
And all they were doing is picking up all the recycle and dumping it in the regular trash. Now, was that isolated? I don't know. But you know what? We need to do an I Spy and figure that out. But go ahead, Brian. What else you got, pal?
The second one
Jeremy.
is,
Jeremy, excuse me.
Jeremy, yes. The second one is I got asked, I'm going to inherit some houses.
Oh, okay.
Would I be better off renting them out or just selling them?
Well, we have an expert here because Mr. Broussard is, of course, now in the real estate business. He was 911, but and he'll talk about that in a moment. But where do you see?
I'm going to hang up and listen, but that's my question.
Jeremy, thank you. So I think how to approach it would be there's sort of a near term and a longer term. Right. Because clearly things are sort of getting very squishy and soft in the real estate market near term.
That's right.
But in general, real estate's always been kind of a very good investment. So what say you?
So it's always tough, Gilbert. I will tell you that. Those are tough decisions that you have to make. Keeping the property is always my go-to. You always need some type of extra money coming in, right? Mm-hmm. That passive income that's coming in. So you always need that. But if you feel like today's market, or you feel you don't want the headache of the renter, I know there's some talks about in City Hall about long-term, short-term rentals. Mm-hmm. Though that might be a problem for you. I don't know if you want that type of headache, Jeremy. So I will tell you this: you really have to sit back. You really have to crunch the numbers. Gilbert knows more about the numbers than I do, right? But crunch those numbers. Make sure you're thinking about your family when you make that decision. Make sure that you're ready for the responsibility of those properties. Making sure that your taxes are being paid out of the rent income if you're thinking about keeping them. Make sure that at the end of the year, when you do sell them, if you decide to sell them, that there's a tax to that, right?
Right.
There's a very healthy tax once you sell them all. So just make sure that you're looking at the numbers. Like I said, I don't want to give you a clear-cut answer when it comes to that, Jeremy. I'm sorry about that. But what I want to tell you is that make sure when you think about it, think about those two things and then make a decision based on that.
Yeah, and I think he's right. And Jeremy, remember, when you have rental properties, there's work involved.
That's right.
Because you got to get the person that you're renting the property to. You got to get them in. You got to get them under contract.
That's right.
You got to maintain the building and the house. You got to make sure they're maintaining it.
That's right.
Because they're going to be, wear and tear on that house. And so it's not a layup. It's not so clear. I think you got to sit down and get on a piece of paper. If I rent it, what are all my costs? What's all my revenue? And to see if it's worth it and to see if you expect that property to appreciate or not in the future. See, the calculus used to be different, Houston. When I was young Gilbert Garcia in the 80s, if you had rental property and if you had a loss, which means if you were to have all the expenses related to renting taking it, the property taxes, the insurance and all that, all your costs, and if it was more than your income, that was called a tax loss, and you could write off against your regular income that you work and you get paid at your job. Now you can't do that. But
Yeah,
in the day you could. And now, because you can only use losses against gains, it's a whole different calculus.
A whole different ball
So
game.
I think you got to look at it, Jeremy. And it also depends on where you are in your life. You know,
Yes.
are you better off, doing something, selling it and putting those proceeds somewhere in the market? But one thing's for sure, the real estate market is starting to get pretty squishy and soft. So if you're going to sell it, I think there'll be a better time on the other side of this tariff problem that we're doing right now,
Jeremy,
with
I
the
will tell
current
you one
administration.
thing.
Go.
I'll tell you one thing. Look into Section 8. That's more of a concrete. It's more of a, it doesn't have the wibble wobble of the real market. That's because it's federal funded. So it doesn't have that wibble wobble. Maybe, we got a different person in president, we got a different president right now. So it might have a little changes into it, but I would definitely look into that, because most of the time when you look at Section 8 and you look at that chart, they actually do account for rental, what you would spend in the your homeowner's insurance, making sure that those taxes are done, making sure that you're actually in a profitable situation when you look into Section 8.
Well, I'm going to give you the floor in just a moment. Before we do, talk us about 911. So you worked in 911 for how long?
That was young Morris.
Yeah.
That was young Morris.
And is it like
13 years?
13 years?
13 years.
And what's it like? Is it like because I don't have any idea.
Right.
Is it like a call center?
It's a huge cost.
It's okay.
It's a huge cost.
And do you have any idea how many 911, like, let's say you were a person there on the,
I was.
how many calls did you get a day, an hour or something? Do you recall?
So I will tell you, I have been gone a while. So I've been gone about 7 years at this point.
Yep.
But the call center is huge. At any given time, you might have 50 call takers at a time, just on, we call it the middle side, the middle of the center. So you have police on that, dispatcher, you got fire over here, dispatcher. You got fire call takers in the front, you got the fire dispatchers in the back, and everybody in the middle works off of everybody else, right? This is, when you talk about this center, this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest concept Houston has ever come up with, right? This is putting 3 different entities together and trying to make them work perfectly, seamlessly, without flaw.
I mean, that's almost impossible.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that, don't get me wrong, 911 has its flaws, and we didn't heard those all on the news and all that other great stuff. But at the end of the day, those people are there to save lives, right?
That's right.
That's their main goal.
And they got to be, steady Eddie. They got to be not panic.
That's right.
And get the other people in the other line not to panic.
That's correct. So the whole thing is that when that phone call comes in, our whole job is to make sure that those people are calm enough so we can get the information that we need to get the services that you need. And I know a lot. Don't get me wrong. I've been on the other side of those phone calls.
Yeah.
People are frantic. And I understand it.
Yeah. They're scared.
That's right. Because the only time they call you,
it's an emergency.
It's an emergency, right? So they know that either their life or someone else that they're close to, life is in danger.
Wow.
But our job is to always be calm, right? Our job is to always control the narrative. Our job is to get the information that we need to make sure everybody walks around safe, right? That's not just your citizens, right? We can't just think about those.
That's right.
We work for a lot of people, right?
Right.
So we work for the citizens and we work for the police department. And the police department is key, right? Because we want those people to go home and see their kids too, right?
That's right. Amen.
We want to make sure everybody goes home. We make sure everybody wants to see their wife, their, the husband, everybody that works on that force. We want to make sure everybody gets home, everybody is safe, and everybody gets to move on with their next day.
So let's go back to something, which is when you think about 911, I mean, you hit it. It may not be perfect.
That's correct.
But what is, right?
That's right.
We're not perfect people, and
that's right.
we're not part of perfect families,
that's
or
right.
perfect marriages, or perfect anything, perfect kids. But at the end of the day, they do a damn good job.
That's right.
And they save lots of lives.
That's right.
And so, if you were a teacher giving them a grade, you'd give them a pretty high grade, wouldn't you?
I would definitely give them B-.
B?
Yeah. Easy.
That's a good grade.
Yeah, easy.
So especially given all the obstacles that you have.
That's right.
So let's go into something. So in general, how do you feel about city workers? I mean, when you hear people, there's this image of, they're, it's always, you hear the stereotype.
Yep.
I just drove by this street and I saw 5 people with a flag around a manhole. And so nobody's working.
That's right.
But, somebody's doing something because the city is working.
That's right.
And when you think of some of the jobs that are the hardest jobs possible,
yes,
which are like solid waste,
very tough.
Public works, What say you? What do you think about the city workers, and what do you think people who have these images in their mind? They're probably just misinformed.
I truly think what's wrong is, Gilbert, is that people don't understand exactly what the city workers do, right? And that's based on failed leadership, right? Your leadership is supposed to be the one who teaches the public what city workers actually do, right? Yep. So when you see a person sitting around this sinkhole, no one's moving. That's because the boss didn't tell them to move yet, right? And that's the boss is the mayor.
Yep.
So the ball it trickles down. So someone didn't give them the go ahead to do exactly what you're looking at them not do.
Interesting.
So we have to also remember that the city workers are the most important people in the city, right?
Yep.
Because if they are not standing there like you say they are, then who is moving this city forward? Because the city workers actually touch every inch of this city, right? It's not that we're not the only ones that just don't do 911. We're not the only people that just don't pick up waste. We're not the only people that fix the streets, right? We're the people that do the accounting. We're the people that make sure that the mayor is informed about what he's going to be informed about or what he's going to speak about. We're the people when it comes to sirens on your police car.
Yep.
You think the police officers do that, Gilbert?
Right.
They don't touch that.
No.
They don't touch that car.
That's right.
That's Public Works that does that. When you talk about the fire trucks that's not working, you think the fire? You think the firefighters out there fixing trucks? No.
And they can't afford to have that truck not work.
That's correct.
Oh my God.
That's correct. That's correct. Because the truck itself is a lot of money within itself. And Gilbert, you know more than me.
I do.
So you know how much that truck, if it's sitting there, how much money that's costing us every day that it sits there. We spend a lot of money on our fire department. God bless them. But I didn't pick that job for them, right? That's not the job I chose. That's not the job you chose for them. No one picked that job, right? But what we did do is that we did fail the city and give them $200 million this year. And the reason that we failed the city, and I'm not saying that they didn't deserve any money, Gilbert, but what I am going to tell you is that almost 10 years ago to the day, they walked away from the table with Anise Parker. That's the truth. Then that's what no one wants to talk about, right? You won't have your mayor come on this radio station and say exactly that. He's going to say, oh, well, they didn't want to negotiate with him, right? That's what he's going to say. The problem is that fire, what they did is that Anise Parker told them that they were crazy. They were out of their minds. They didn't deserve the money. They decided to walk away from the table. That's what negotiating is. You get to walk away from the table. If you don't like what the people are saying, you get to walk away from the table. What Sylvester Turner did is that he went back to the table with them. They decided not to take a deal then. So who gets to pay for when you're not taking the deals that's on the table? You're saying that the city workers are going to have to take the deal? And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. That's why we're seeing massive layoffs. We're seeing our most tenured employees. That's the ones with the history, Gilbert.
Those are the ones you cannot spare.
That's right. Because who takes the history when they gone? Who picks up the mantle when they gone?
Nobody. You got to start over.
That's right. The history got to start over. But that's what this administration is going to be about. And we can already see that in year 2. We're going to see that this administration is going to be about crippling crippling Houston in its entirety, wiping away divisions that you really don't understand, or you really haven't put your finger on. You're going to see that it's going to be a lot of blame. And a lot of blame is going to be around the people around the horseshoe, right? Because those are the people who actually make the decisions. We as the citizens have to tell them, hey, we don't want our services to slow down.
Right.
We don't want our services to falter. We don't want our services. I don't want my life to be impeded by what the mayor is going to say and what the mayor is going to do.
And, and we need more services, not less.
That's
and
right.
There are so many parts of this city. Hold that thought. I'm going to make a note to myself.
Go for it.
Because I want to talk about when I ran for mayor, because I got a chance to really see Houston.
Yes.
But we have a caller already. Is there Yvette on the line?
Yes, this is Yvette. How are you, Gilbert and Morris?
You have
Good morning.
A tip from me with Mr. Morris Broussard III. What do you got there, Miss Yvette?
Yeah, such an interesting topic, just with the city. My husband is actually a Houston firefighter.
Oh,
Been in
beautiful.
the department about 15 years.
Beautiful.
And, continues to grow in his ranks. But all in all, we've seen the changes throughout I've seen the changes throughout his tenure and being a firefighter. And, it's been a struggle,
Yes.
And finally came to fruition, like you said, in regards to them getting the extra incentive
Yes.
for not having been paid for many years. And so we're very thankful and thrilled for it. And but at the same time, there still are issues which you are just currently talking about in regards to understaffing, and the response times. And, I know many stations are in blackouts just because they don't have the equipment. And it's just very unfortunate, in regards to folks having to wait the extra time to get attended to. And, the mayor, I know they're still working on, I know they got that one part done. And, the other part is just the how they're going to get the equipment up to date. Because my husband was at the place the other day trying to fix the truck for the whole day. It took the whole day for them to repair it.
Well,
so all in all, it's just unfortunate that the equipment hasn't been changed. The response times are delayed. I don't know what the next steps are into addressing this, but I don't know if you've heard anything on your end.
Well, hold on. I'm going to hold that thought if you don't mind.
Go for it.
So, Yvette, let me just ask you, how's morale now in the fire department? I mean, does your husband feel like, well, yes, I understand we're still being shortchanged on equipment and so forth, but at least do they feel appreciated? I mean, how's morale?
No, it's changed. I feel I've seen more of a positive tone in regards to that, but just the day-to-day is the how to get things done effectively and efficiently.
Right.
That's the frustrating part right now.
Well, one thing that made no sense to me was if you saw during the Turner administration, all the litigation where city was suing the firefighters, and it was going on and on and on. And in reality, because the firefighters worked for the city, that really means the citizens were on both sides of the lawsuit.
That's right.
We were funding both sides. And that's what I thought just didn't make any sense. And I would have gone, everybody knows I ran for mayor, into mediation years ago to at least worked it out, had a third party to look at all the facts and say, okay, this is what makes sense. But I'm happy to know that you think that, or he thinks that morale has improved. What do you think about stability? I mean, are we still having lots of turnover and people leaving to the suburbs, or is that stabilized too?
I think it's starting to grow again. You're starting to see more cadets, graduate from the academy. There are a few that I've heard that have left for other cities, but not as many. But I'm starting to see the change, and I feel like there are more opportunities for young folks to get into the fire department here and are taking it. So I think we're starting to see the change as more firefighters are continuing to be active in the city.
Wonderful. Well, Miss Yvette, before Miss Broussard, did you have anything you want to say to Miss Yvette?
Now, Miss Yvette, tell me, I know that you said your husband worked for the fire department, correct?
Correct.
So how would he have felt if we kind of stretched that money out and started working on some of the real problems as the fire trucks, getting more equipment in instead of giving him a huge raise? Do you think he wanted to raise, or do you think he actually wanted the equipment to be working and the equipment up to top-notch shape?
I mean, honestly, I think it would have been a good balance because it would help them on their day-to-day, like I said, keeping up with stuff.
Right.
Of course, they wanted the raise,
right?
Because it was way overdue, long overserved. But I'm sure if the option to discuss it, maybe that would have probably been a good thing.
Oh, I think that's great because, like anything else, you want the equipment to be able to do your job.
That's right.
Because if your equipment fails, your life is on the line as a firefighter.
Right. I mean,
it's not the same as your equipment fails and you're, a football player and maybe you get injured, I guess, although that is similar. But the point is, a firefighter, their life is on the line.
That's right.
And if your equipment fails, that could be catastrophic.
That's right.
Oh, my goodness. Miss Yvette, thank you for calling into the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome. So let's go back there, Morris.
Yeah,
so
that was a good one.
That was a good one. That was a good one. That was a good one. Let me ask you this. So what do you think is going to be facing this mayor? The budget season is starting here.
Yes, right here.
Right now. We're
in the middle.
And at one time they said it was going to be 350.
Yeah.
I think he reached an agreement, and I want to
with street and drainage.
Yes, I want to get Alan Watson was one of the persons that sued the city. And I know him very well, so I invited him to be on my show. But I just invited him yesterday, so I hope he will be. Good. Because I understand that they've reached a settlement with the city where the city will only pay for the first 2 years or something, half of what they owe, and then it'll build.
Right.
So you could argue that's a good compromise to give the city some time.
That's correct.
But the main thing is we've
still
heard
in
this.
deficit.
We've heard this many times,
That's
which
right.
is the city needs to put money into this drainage. That's what the people voted for.
That's right.
Just like they voted for more transit.
That's right.
And the will of the voters should be the most precious thing we have. So if you go back, if you just do the math, it sounds like, according to Chris Sollins, the city controller,
Yes.
if they were saying 350, and let's say you're saving almost 100
Yeah.
because of this drainage situation,
Yeah.
or almost 100, not quite. So you're talking about somewhere in the order of 250 to 275 million
Easy.
deficit.
Easy.
Easy. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
I mean, how are we going to, I mean, what's the plan? What do you think the plan is, and how are we going to get there?
So, Gilbert, I want to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, tell me.
Oh, I want to be honest with you. I
Yes.
want to be honest with all the listeners. I have on my podcast.
Yep.
I have a segment on there called No Plan. I don't think there's a plan.
The plan is no plan?
I think we're shooting from the hip every day that we walk into
Yep.
City Hall at this point. And the reason that I say that is it's because it's clear, right? We give fire $200 million this year.
Mhm.
That's this year. That's not the whole.
Yep.
That's not the whole stretch of
That's
it.
not the whole enchilada.
So that's why I wanted to. That's why I wanted to talk to Miss Yvette, because I wanted to see if it would have been a great compromise to get them a raise, which I'm not saying that they didn't
Yep.
need. Right?
Right.
I'm not one to say unions don't need to ask for more money. I'm not saying that. But what the argument was is you said you wanted more equipment, but we gave you more money in your pocket.
Mhm.
But that was Marty's argument. Marty's argument was we need better equipment. If you need better equipment, why did I give you a check in your paycheck?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
Well, why didn't it hold some back
Oh,
or spread it out?
right.
So I
Spread
could
it out
get you
over
some
a
of that-
longer period of time.
Get you that
You
equipment.
want what did it turn into? $1 billion? It was almost $1 billion at the end of it. It was like 600
It's a
something.
big number.
It's a huge number.
Huge.
Number. So we could have spread that over 10 years. That would have made more sense. We're gonna swallow this with not having the money to function. The worst part about this is that we have to balance a budget every year. Am I right, Gilbert?
That's correct.
We have to
By
be at
law,
zero.
by law.
It's a way to cover this till next year, push it off, or expand it to
Yeah,
another.
and
this
it's not
has
like
to
the
be
federal
solved.
government where you say,
That's
we're just
correct.
going to borrow some money.
That's
No,
correct.
but statutorily, they have to balance the
Have
budget.
to balance the budget
That's
every
right.
year. So when you tell me that, oh, this is Sylvester Turner's fault, and Sylvester Turner did this to me,
Yeah.
I don't want to call you a liar, good sir.
Yeah.
I don't want to call you a liar, but I want to tell you that you're not telling the truth based on the laws that we sit here and we read here today in Houston.
Yeah, and if it were true, maybe that was true the first year,
Yes,
but now you've been
This all
marijuana.
you.
It's you own it.
yeah, you got to own it.
You gotta
This
own it.
your baby now.
Well, I want to go in through this press release
yes,
that came out by the Hope Union, which of
Yes.
course is the city's the non-police, non-fire union.
municipal employees. Go
Yes,
ahead.
employees. Thank you.
Yes,
And it talked about Mayor Whitmire's buyout plan.
yeah.
So I want to go into that, but we have another caller already. Is there a brother Chris on the line?
Yes, it is.
Brother Chris, what say you? We're talking a little bit about the city workers.
Yes.
We're talking a little bit about the budget deficit. I mean, we're talking a whole lot about a lot of very important things here. What
That's
say
right.
you?
First and foremost, I want to thank your guests for coming on because it takes courage to speak truth to power.
Yep.
And as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, life's most persistent, urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Now, here's to the firefighters out there, because I'm a former fireman myself. You already know that.
Oh,
But
thank
if
you.
I decide to become a fireman because I think I'm going to get rich and wealthy, then I'm becoming a firefighter for the wrong reason.
That's
Now, if I'm
correct.
becoming a firefighter because I want to serve others and help make a difference, that's understanding that. Because somebody once told me, you got this food basket going down the river. You take what you need out that food basket, you and your family, and you go. Don't try to hog it all. Because see, as a firefighter, I can't just be concerned about my family making money. I got to be concerned about this job family making money, other city workers making money to keep up with the cost of living. Now, true enough, I think, in my opinion, the firefighter union showed disrespect to Mayor Sylvester Turner because he was black, in my opinion. They didn't take that step with Denise Parker. As soon as black mayor in, we're going to try to call him out now, run and show the disrespect to him. But he was more than fair because I got to keep in mind, I have other employees that work for the city other than firefighters. Here again, if you're not making enough money, go find you another job. Because you can take the job and say, well, I'm doing it because
I need to get rich. And you knew the dangers of it when you signed up for it. It's like I go into the military, become a police officer. I knew the risk of the danger before I signed up for it. That's just my opinion. What say you, Brother Gilbert, you and your guest there?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I also think that we've got to figure out a way, because now that we set the bar with the firefighters,
so high,
the police are now negotiating
right now.
And then you've got Hope that will be right behind it.
They're done.
They're done. I mean, the whole point is, where's the money for all of this going to come from? Sounds great, but I want to go into this. But before I go,
it's going to go right there, Gilbert.
That's right.
That's right.
But you go. What do you got to say to Brother Chris?
Brother Chris, you are exactly correct. Yeah. You're the people that I like speaking to every day, because you understand that there's only one pie. And Gilbert, you know about pie. Okay. So the pie is only so big. So once you start not separating that pie correctly, that pie looks crazy. The slices are not correct. You're not getting the funds that you need in a particular situation, in a particular subject. Those things are failing. What we just did is that we overhandedly gave fire a raise, the hugest the piece of the pie that we've ever given in history of Houston. This is the biggest pie we have ever given, a slice of the pie. What we've done is that now we've overcompensated for one particular union that we had not to do, because Marty asked for it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Marty is wrong. He did exactly what his membership asked him to do, because that's what they gave him. Because the history says that before Marty, there was another mayor. I mean, there was another fire president. They got rid of him because he couldn't give them what they wanted. He didn't want to negotiate with Niece Parker, and they got rid of him. So they got Marty, and Marty took over, and Marty did exactly what his membership asked him to do. I can't fault Marty for that, because that's his job. His job is to listen to his membership. His membership knew exactly what strings to pull, and they pulled those strings.
Well, the first step, Brother Chris, stay with us. The first step, I understand, because I see something here. I'm going to read a little bit of it, Brother Chris. So the Hope Union, it says here, Hope members are supportive of Mayor Rittmeyer's plan to offer a buyout to reduce the budget shortfall. So the union supports this. And it says here, I'm going to go, while members have been excited about the recent gains in the 2004 meet and confer agreement, we now face a new challenge, avoiding layoffs. And that is why they say we support the mayor's buyout. And then it says here, either way, we're seeing a true level of respect for everyone's individual circumstances by this administration. So they're giving the mayor a lot of kudos.
Yes.
But the reality is, they also said that Hope members are committed to helping the mayor close the budget gaps in ways that will not hurt our ability to serve the residents. So when you get down to it, how many people are accepting this buyout? And a buyout just really means
layoff,
doesn't it? Or
deletion of job. Tomato, pecan, pecan. I mean, it's the same thing, right? If you're not creating jobs, you're getting rid of them. That's the only definition I know. Because
if all you're going to do is they're going to leave on the buyout, and then you're going to hire people to replace them, well, then why didn't you just keep them? Because they're probably very skilled people.
That's right.
So how many people do we think are taking this buyout? Do you know? It didn't say here.
So right now,
I thought I heard 700. Yeah.
But the problem with that, Gilbert, is that, again, you know math more than I do, right? You've been in this thing a long time, right? So when you tell me 700 people are being laid off, what do you think that number comes up to the almost $300 million that we're still in shortfall?
Well, very
about
small.
22, 24.
You know what it means? Not enough.
Not enough. That's exactly what it means. It's not enough. So when you read this to the citizens of Houston, because that's who we're talking to today, right? So when we talk to the citizens of Houston, you say that you did this and that we're comfortable with this, I'm going to tell you that you have no backbone. I'm going to tell you that you do not have a spine. I'm going to tell you that this is a failed leadership. Now, they voted this woman in, and I'm not going to say her name on the radio because I ain't got.
You mean the head of the union, right?
The head of the union, the president. The president said that her ED signed off on this, that we released this on this day. This is a failure.
And this was March 14th.
That's correct.
That's what I was
reading. This is a failure of your union. When I just gave Marty kudos for knowing exactly what he was going to do, how he was going to get it done. This is a failure because I want to know, did the membership vote for this release?
Did they? I bet you they didn't.
I bet you they did.
Now, Marty would have never stood for something like this.
Marty would have never put a release like that on paper.
Go ahead and give us a buyout and then fire us if you need to.
He would have said, you either give me the money or we all walk out together. Because that's how strong his membership is.
Yeah.
This says to me, you do not care about your membership. You're getting away 700 jobs. We're probably going to end up, I'm hearing a real quote of about 4,000. I'm hearing about 4,000 got to go.
That's a big number.
That's a huge number.
Well, 700 is about 6% or so.
That's right.
That seems to me to be just sort of like the first salvo.
That's right. I feel like this is phase 1. This is not phase 2, 3, 4. This is phase 1 of a huge, a big scheme to truly lessen the Houston government.
Yeah. So what do you say there, Brother Chris, to all of this? And the Hope Union, and are they making a mistake? Are they doing a good thing, a bad thing? What do you say?
Well, I say in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, I cannot give up the necessities of song for luxury and convenience for a few.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brother Chris, you always have good stuff to say.
He do. That
Doesn't
was
he?
real
Doesn't he?
good.
I mean, he
God,
does.
dog.
It's like he knew we were going to talk about this. Brother Chris, you are wise. Brother, I got another caller, but I just want to give you the last word. What else do you got for us?
Well, I want to just tell the gentleman, keep doing what you're doing, because it takes courage to stand up. And I read this somewhere. Somebody once told me it takes courage to stand up to your enemies, but it takes more courage to stand up to your friends.
That's right.
And you're doing exactly what you do, because it takes one voice of courage makes a majority. Keep doing what you're doing, good brother. Fight
Thank
for
you so
everybody.
much.
It's not an attack on the fire department. Don't misunderstand me. But the firefighter got to understand we are all in this together.
We're all in it together.
That's right.
Brother Chris, thank you for calling into the show. Please call in again. I'm going to go to, is there a Linda? Was there a Linda? I thought I saw a Linda. Hold on there, Mr. Broussard.
No, you're fine.
Linda, are you there? Linda.
I'm here, but I don't hear you. Hello?
Linda, you got me, Gilbert Garcia, with Mr. Brother Broussard here. Morris, what do you got for us?
Well, Brother Broussard Morris, our city has been robbing from Peter to pay Paul continuously.
Agreed.
I agree with everything you said. 70% of your fire department do not have skin in the game. They do not live within the city confines, and you cannot hire it done.
Yes.
I personally, since I am a retired teacher, am pointing guns and artillery at your superintendent of schools, who we did not ask for, is not credentialed, and he's stealing $27 million, and they say you can do nothing about it. The city is going to rack and ruin.
Yes.
I was made to sit at the Y, the main Y. My clothes were taken away. She tried to turn off the shower. I am a paid member. I'm not a silver sneakers woman, though I'm 75. I don't take handicap. I pay for my membership. And they took my clothes and told me I had to get dressed in the hallway. The internal police bureau, the internal affairs office is closed. Call the number they have on the website. It's closed. That's what artificial intelligence does. Try and complain about the city. We need to pay for sanitation. That you never can get through. You got your city offices. You can't get a soul to answer a phone. What do you expect? I don't know how. What do you expect? This is something that started back with Anise Parker. It was in place with, I think everyone, with Lanier. I don't say Lanier and Bill White, but from Anise Parker on down.
Well, Miss Linda, when I hear all that, I'm like, oh my God, I just throw up my hands. But you know what? We can't afford to do that. We as the adults in the room, we got to help our leaders to make good decisions. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to, before you can go under, what do you call it? Chemotherapy, you got to admit you have cancer. And then you got to take it out and take it head on.
That's right.
That's the only way to beat it or control it or live with it.
Miss Linda, I will tell you one thing. And I want to tell you
Can I say one thing before you say
this? Yes.
I am remiss. I went to this police precinct in my area, and an officer, Sergeant Cleveland, told me we can pull this up. There were 4 police cars. Now you want to talk about overtime and abuse of use with the police. One 75-year-old woman, he said, well, you have to have an incident report. We're going to give it to you. We're going to notarize the papers. They never did. They gave it to another girl. When you call up the state about adult abuse, they say that they only take abuse that happens at the nursing homes. These are the things that we are paying for, our taxpayer money pays for, and they're talking, you're cutting it. This isn't the first time they're cutting out these employees. My husband's 33 years retired from the city.
And you know what, Ms. Linda, you don't really know these things until someone like you comes out and says it, because the people don't know that these services are getting cut back, and they just don't know.
That's right.
But Ms. Linda, stay with us for a minute, and believe it or not, we're almost out of time.
I know,
and you didn't even know,
so
and you didn't even say anything, neither did I. Brother, what do you think?
So, Ms. Linda, before we let you go, because I know we're about to get off of air, I want to tell you one thing and one thing only. When your leadership fails you, your leadership does not follow your directions, because that's what the leadership is bit there for, right? You voted for them; they're supposed to follow your direction. You get rid of them.
You got to change.
Yes, right.
That's right.
You vote them out.
That's right.
That's right. That's what I want to take from all this that we just talked about today. Because, like I said, I know we only got a few more minutes, but what I want to leave on the table today is that when your leadership has failed you, when your leadership does not have the backbone that it's supposed to have to keep your job steady and aware, when your leadership is not doing what you asked them to do, when your leadership fails you in when it comes to budget and finance, because we know that that's a blunder and a failure, you vote them out. And we as a Houstonians, because I've been here almost 40 years now. My daddy before me, my daddy was actually, I'm the second generation city worker. He worked for the city for 25 years. So I'm the second generation of city workers. That's why I'm so passionate about this, that we vote them out. We need to have leadership that agrees with us. We need to have we need to have leadership that actually speaks for us. We need to have leadership that follows our direction. And when they don't do that, it's time to get rid of them.
That's right. Miss Linda, you know
very careful. But look at what your governor is doing. He's saying Harris County can't hold elections. Their elections were unfair. No, we just couldn't find a way to vote for a Republican. And we have to put them to the test and put their feet to the flame.
That's right.
They give out cards. If you get a card, their numbers are no good. They swear to you. You go to hearings assistance, which I did April 15th last week, April 15th, and they don't return the call. They don't look for anything, and no. We're gonna have to find a clever way around it. And if you're going to come, I will see you at the City Hall tomorrow, because I'm going to sign up to speak.
You know what, Miss Linda? I want you on my show.
Old lady, naked.
You're 75 years young. Miss Linda, would you be on my show? I'm going to get you and Mr. Broussard together, and all three of us are going to rock and roll. Could I later, would you call into my show to give me your number? I want to get you on. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm going to email you what I'm sending out, because they told me that they didn't know what elderly abuse was. The police officer. How do I know and you don't know?
Miss Linda, Houston, we're going to have them both back, because I think this is too much about. We've got to let people know about things that aren't working for us.
That's right.
And that's what this station is meant to be. So, Miss Linda, I'm going to go ahead, if you don't mind, sign up with you, but you're going to give me my, you're going to email, I think you said, or you're going to text me. I want to get you on the show, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Okay. Well,
Linda.
I thank you so much, Gilbert. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. So, Mr. Morris, I'm going to have you back with her, because I think the three of us would really have a very interesting show together. And that's what this is all about, Houston, which is let's speak up. If you don't like what's going on around you, rather than complain, speak up. Make your opinion heard, and don't just accept stuff. I'm going to give you the last minute. You're going to talk right there to Houston.
Houston, I thank you again. I thank you for watching the Gilbert Garcia show. I thank you for watching the More with Morris show. I appreciate you for speaking what change needs to look like. I appreciate you looking to the future and trying to make it better with me, right? This is a we.
That's
not
right.
me.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
This is what it's all about, right?
This is us.
We're trying to get Houston into the next the future. We're trying to make it better. We're trying to make it brighter. We're trying to bring those jobs back because we know that we've dumped about 700 jobs just in phase one. That's what we're trying to do. And if we're not trying to do that, then there's no reason for us to do this anymore.
My only homework for you is please get ready to talk to us about some of the budget stuff that's going to be coming on, because I want to do that. And Houston, I think we are out of time, so we'll see you next time. This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia. Listen to my radio show, A Tip from Gilbert. Talk, inspiration, and prayer every Monday from 11 a.m. till noon on Houston's gospel leader, KWWJ. 1360 AM and streaming live on kwwj.org. Listen on the legendary KYOK 1140 AM and streaming live on kyokradio.org. KCOH 1380 AM on San Geek Radio 95.1 FM 1460 AM and Aliento Radio 101.7 FM and 1540 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then.